Welcome back to the Ekko cast. Today we have my doppelganger. A lot of you guys did not know that we are two separate people, but I promise we are, and here's the proof. So, Michael, why don't you introduce yourself, let people know, obviously, I mean, you're more popular than me these days, but let people know who you are, what it is you do, and we'll go from there.
Yes, I am the lesser-known Joel Twinem, also known as Michael Smoak. HigherUpWelness is the name of the brand that I have across social media. And I did get a ton of messages about us when I said I'm doing a podcast with Joel. I said that so many people said, how are you going to be in the same place at the same time? Two of you, I don't understand. Fun fact, that picture of you, me, and Blake is my most liked photo I've ever posted on Instagram.
Yeah.
Just a photo of us.
Went insane.
Insane. It also, I don't think I told you this, I screenshotted it, but it randomly last week on TikTok got taken down for community guidelines violation. Yeah, I don't know why. I think it said unoriginal content. Probably thought I was copying you and you were copying me and we were copying Blake.
I guess we are unoriginal in our overall looks.
Yeah,
but,
yeah. Times New Roman, Calibri, just different fonts. But I'm glad to be here with you, man. It's been too long since we caught up.
Dude, it has been too long. Oh man, we always like when our paths cross, but this is not enough.
I know. We're both certified yappers, so it should be a good conversation.
Yeah, it'll be good for sure. All right, so I figured that we would start with more of just the overall talking through content, talking through strategies, like how it is you view the content sphere as it is right now, because obviously it's always insane. But what do you specifically see that's going on in this overall sphere that is good, bad, and could be better, could be worse? So let's just start with, do you think that social media as it stands right now is better than it was or worse than it was 5 years ago?
Ooh, great question to start. I would prefer to find the good in everything, and in terms of social media, because it's so easy to find the bad. I really think social media can be a cancer to your life if you allow it to be. But there were good things about social media 5 years ago, or even 3 years ago when I started in 2023. There were things about it that were better then that are not as good now, and things about it that are better now that weren't as good then. One of the best things I've noticed that I think has lowered the barrier to entry for creators is there seems to be a regression to the mean. And there's always historically in trends across cultures, regressions to the mean when things go too far in one direction. So what I mean by that is early YouTube, early social media days, we had the low friction, low editing. People always call it frictionless content. I think of Max Tuning, Christian Guzman, early YouTube fitness day in the life stuff. It was just them and a camera and a decent mic.
And a few pixels.
Maybe an intro if they were getting crazy and figured out how to edit. But for the most part, it felt like they were bringing you along throughout their day. And there's always been creators that have pillarized that in social media. Sam Sulek, I think, brought it back to life in 2024, 2023, 2024. And I think the reason that is at least a contributing factor is that a lot of people feel isolated and alone. A mentor of mine said to me once, the reason he thought my content was working because it falls in the vein of frictionless, to which I just say, I don't know how to edit, so I just talk and post.
Yeah, exactly.
People in a world where we're so connected have never felt more alone. And the frictionless talking head, whether it be vlog content or talking head FaceTime style content, makes people feel connected to the creator. It feels very real. And I think the era of the in-your-face, hyper-edited, hyper-animated YouTuber is somewhat coming to an end, at least not as popular, because what the world craves now is authenticity. I think even more so when you ask me what's bad about social media. Bad is certainly subjective, and there's lots of great ways it's being used, but AI-generated content is becoming harder to discern. Eventually, there will be AI versions of you and I that someone puts out that looks like us in the car or outside or green screening. And so the more raw and real I can make a video, at least the way I view it, the more likely it is to be successful, because people are looking for what is absolutely irrefutably real, because it's becoming harder to distinguish.
Yeah. Well, one of the most common comments that I get when I launch a YouTube video is only 13 minutes or only 15 minutes. And people are upset about that, because what has happened so much is they've seen over and over again that people are feeding them 15 seconds worth of content, 30 seconds worth of content. And they're like, and they understand, they're starting to realize that it's just not giving them a whole lot, and they just don't feel like they're getting much out of it. And so they're actually looking forward to longer content, which was funny because I was like, my whole start was, how can I get people pissed off in the shortest amount of time possible? That was how I was getting my traction.
And that works sometimes still.
It does. But it was one of those things where as they like started to get to know you, they're like, I want more. I want it to be less edited. I want it to be more real. It's like, well, why'd you cut off that set? I'm like, it was just me doing a lat pull down. But they want to see more.
Yeah.
They want it to be more real, more raw, and be able to dig into it a little bit deeper rather than just seeing the absolute best shots in every single circumstance.
Yeah, because it feels so real. I believe creators, and this phrase, this term has a negative connotation to it, but I try to lean into the parasocial relationship, if you will. I want to connect with the people that are watching the videos. I respond to as many comments as I can, as many DMs as I can. And to your point, if there's a clip that I even have an inkling of a thought, does that need to go out or does it need to stay in because the lighting's not great or the shot's not great or I'm just yapping about nothing, I leave it in. Because that's almost like a barometer for me of, oh, that was raw and real, leave it, because that's going to be something someone connects with. And that's what I think people are really yearning for in the social media world that is better now than it used to be, is there are creators emerging just in the last couple of months that are so authentic, and you can tell because they have little quirks about them that they certainly wouldn't add if they were trying to mask or be someone they're not, but people love them for it.
Yep.
And that's huge.
No, one of the things that I do very consistently is I'm live almost every single day.
Yeah, you've been live during your workout since I met you.
Yeah, all the time. And I remember the one comment that I got while I was on live was people were like, oh, well, he wouldn't do these lives if he didn't make a ton of money from them. And I'm like, I literally don't make any money from lives.
Like 12 cents for 2
like
hours.
maybe somebody threw a rose and that was a 10-cent rose. And that's it. I'm like, I don't make, and they're like, well, then why would you do it? I'm like, because I get an actual opportunity to connect with you past you just seeing me on a video that it might relate to you in some sense, but we didn't actually have any dialogue. We didn't have any back and forth. It's like, so yeah, I can either do that through comments, or what I can do is I can be there, you can ask a question, I can respond back, and then maybe you even have a follow-up. And when people have that ability to actually go back and forth a little bit, it changes their entire perspective on you as a person.
Yeah.
I've had people legitimately come into my lives hating me, walk out, oh, I'm going to give you a follow now.
Yeah.
And it's and there's so much that just gets glossed over if you don't have the ability to actually go back and forth with your audience. Like you don't do much in the way of lives, right?
I did very, very much so up until about 6 months ago, and frankly, it's not for a reason. I just got a little bit complacent, but I think I'm going to go back to it now.
Yeah, because I think your audience would absolutely love that style from you.
Do you do more TikTok live exclusively? That's where I see you live.
That's where I go live.
Okay.
I've done YouTube lives too once in a while when I'm sitting at home just like answering questions. But it's like I always like to multitask.
Yeah. What about Instagram live? What's the difference for you?
I actually don't even know. I've never even tried Instagram live.
Everyone goes proclivity towards TikTok live for some reason.
I just throw a message up on my Instagram that says, hey, I'm live on TikTok.
I'm live on this other platform.
Then they can go over there. But no, it was one of those things where I decided very early on, one of the things that was going to differentiate me from other content creators is I was going to have an actual relationship with my audience. I would see people would post the whole post and ghost, right? Like people would post their content and then you'd go to their comment section and there wasn't a single comment from the creator ever. And I'm not saying that you can't do that. I know everybody has their own lives and stuff, but if you're never, ever interacting with your audience, at that point, there's no real ability for you to connect with them at all.
Yes.
In my opinion.
I agree. There's 3 pillars to content, I believe. I was thinking about some of the best creators in the space and what makes them so good. And I distinguish these 3 things that I noticed, these 3 traits that make great creators. They have all 3 in different facets. It's informational, aspirational, and relational. So I think of someone who's a textbook example of this is Leo Skepi. Informational, his long form podcast, he's like a therapist. He gives true value and information. And then aspirational, he talks about coming out of an abusive relationship, coming from poverty, and then he posts a lavish lifestyle or the beautiful things he bought for himself or how fulfilled he is. Look at where I was, look at where I am now. That's aspirational. And then relational is come along with me, good morning and shit videos where he's in a hotel just getting ready to go out on the town. That's very human. And he mastered all 3 of those pillars. And I think if you can hit all 3, that's where you become a top of the line creator.
Yeah. No, and that's one of the things, because I've run groups before where I've taught people how to create content, and they're like, well, I'm doing exactly what that guy's doing. And I'm like, okay, well, show me your videos. They show me the videos. I'm like, you're not doing what that guy is doing. You think you are. It's like, but no, you're doing a small shadow of what that person is actually doing, because you've only narrowed in on one concept of what they're doing, and you're not seeing the bigger picture behind what's actually getting those people traction.
Exactly.
No, it's a very frustrating one for me, because it happens all the time. I've been trying this social media thing for so long, and the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result. And I see them just posting the same thing after the same thing after the same thing, and there's no ability to actually grasp that the audience does not care about that thing that you're doing.
Yes.
But no, like, it'll pick up eventually. I'm doing the same thing as this guy. It's like, yeah, except he was doing it with twice the amount of gusto. He was doing it with an actual joke thrown in here and there. He was doing it in a way that was offending some people and getting other people inspired. And you're doing it just talking about the same topic, but in a very bland overall way.
He was doing it, or she was doing it with authenticity interwoven, and you are just copying the other creator who succeeded at their thing.
Yeah. Oh, and you brought up authenticity, and that was something I actually wanted to ask you about. Do you think, for the majority of time, when you see people online who their audience thinks they're authentic, do you think it's mostly performance, or do you think that there has been a genuine move back towards creators who are authentic?
Oh, man. I do think there has been a move towards creators who are authentic. And I think time reveals all in a creator. What I never want to happen is what I've seen happen in the past, where a content creator will appear a certain way on the internet in short form, where it's a controlled environment, a vacuum, and then a fan meets them in person, or multiple followers meet them in person, and they act different, or information about them comes out that proves they might not be the person they presented. Mm-hmm. I never want to create the problem for myself that I'm not as I appear on camera in real life, because that just seems, number one, exhausting. Mm-hmm. I can't imagine having to play a character, and then every time someone from the internet knows who I am, I have to turn the character on. What if I'm tired that day?
Right.
So I make content when I'm tired. I make content when I'm angry. So you know what you're going to get with me, and I don't have to think about it.
Yep.
So I think that is what connects with people. You are the same as you appear on camera. There is no act. So that's also an infinite flow of creation inspiration. Mm-hmm. When people ask me what my content strategy is, I just post what I'm thinking about, because it's me. I don't have to come up with a unique niche or a certain talk track, because that's the way I've always done it. Mm-hmm. Just like a fast track to burnout. So yes, authenticity is not only the source of, dare I say, infinite inspiration, but if longevity is your goal as a creator, which for everybody it should be, because it's the fastest moving industry in the world, you become irrelevant like that, then you should be, from the jump, as much of yourself as you can.
I agree. And there's obviously an aspect to which, because I'll hear some people say, they're like, well, I was just being myself. Why is my content not growing? And I'm like, well, that doesn't mean that you don't exaggerate your overall disposition.
Yeah. That's a good point.
And they're like, well, this is the way that I would talk to people if I was talking. It's like, okay, that's not what we mean when we say be yourself. Yeah. We mean the overall concepts, the ideas, your overall beliefs and stuff like that. But of course, you need to play yourself up to a degree. There are some people that need to tone it in a little bit. But for the most part, most people are going to have to go a little bit up.
Animated authenticity.
Exactly. Animated authenticity is a perfect way to put it. And there was somebody the other day who said, well, TNF, I'm kind of concerned, you posted this online, and like that was pretty harsh. And they're like if you post stuff like this online, like, what are you like when you're not online? I'm like, you're literally seeing the worst of me. Mm-hmm. I'm like, you are probably seeing a worse version of me online than you would see if we were behind closed doors. Because online, you're trying to get a little bit more of a reaction. You're trying to bring things up a little bit. And so it's like, you could be hiding something even worse. I'm like, you've seen the worst of me.
Yes, which sets you up for a great interaction in real life, because it can only get better for them. Yeah. I'm sure you've gotten you're nicer in person than I would have imagined.
Which is so much.
A backhanded compliment.
Right.
But I'd rather that be that than you're meaner in person.
I have had many people who say that you're nicer in person, and then I'll tell them straight up. I say, you have to understand, there's an algorithm to deal with, And an algorithm likes abrasiveness. It likes people who are very in your face, very abrupt, because then some people get offended. And then what happens is those people who are getting offended, even if it's not a legitimate offense, can push it out to more people.
Yes, let's talk about that a little bit. There is still strategy that can exist within authenticity that breeds a certain intentionality. Joel knows when he says something that's going to get a rise, it's an authentic thought, but you might say it in a way that you know this is either going to get a positive emotion or a negative emotion, and that is the root of engagement. Like when the elbow problem video went viral for me about people having an elbow problem, they eat too much. That is really how I feel, but I knew the delivery, the deadpan with a jarring joke at the end, I knew that was going to be good for the algorithm.
Right. You're never going to say that to somebody who's struggling coming to you and they're like, I just don't know how to solve my situation. And I'd be like, oh, fix your elbow.
Yeah.
Right? Like that's never going to be a thing you say to somebody in person. But what happens is people are so used to thinking that everybody's putting up a front that it's, well, if he says that like this here, just imagine what he's like in his personal life. But no, I think creators like you and I'm obviously having talked with you a lot in the background, we're almost a little bit harsher online than we are in person.
Most definitely. We have more empathy in real life, believe it or not.
Yeah. No, empathy can be a bit of a, I don't want to go there. Empathy is a word that I struggle with because of the fact that sometimes people try to force you to be empathetic to things you aren't empathetic towards.
Yeah. Yeah, boy, do they.
Yeah, but no, we won't get into that at all. All right. As far as your content goes, obviously we're talking about authenticity. What do you think is the differentiating piece between influence? Like, how do you draw the line between what you would consider to be influence and manipulation? Because I mean, obviously you see people do get manipulated online a lot by creators. Where do you find that distinction to be?
I think the boundary's drawn within your own morals. Influence is I use this thing, or I think this way, or I live this way, and I genuinely think it can make your life better. And I believe that content holds energy. Just like when you're around somebody in real life and if they're down and they're acting a certain way, you can perceive their energy is anxious or sad. I think you can feel that through a video too, subconsciously or consciously. That's why authenticity is so important. I think we all have a bullshit meter built into our heads. So we can tell to a degree if someone's putting on a front. And the line between influence and manipulation exists divided by ethics and morals that I think we all have innately in us. It's, I guess, a practical example of this is manipulation is classically seen in the fitness industry a lot with supplement promotion. I will die on the hill that I think most people should take magnesium. And I've promoted it from the jump, so much so that we have a product at Ekko Vision for it now. And I still get the occasional bros pushing sups now, when did this happen? Or great, another snake oil salesman. But the difference is I would go in front of a room full of 1,000 people and defend my position on this live. And I would happily try to change anybody's mind. And even if they didn't agree with me, they wouldn't change mine on this particular topic. But if you tried to get me to, for a big check, promote fat burners as the see-all, be-all, end-all, then that crosses the ethic line. But I know I have enough influence through years of building trust and goodwill that if I made a TikTok shop video promoting fat burners, people would buy it because Michael said to, or because Joel said to. And that would compromise my ethics.
Yeah.
And so that, I think, is the divider between influence, changing someone's life for the better, and manipulating, which is changing someone's way of thinking for your own gain.
Well, a hard conversation that I had the other day with my wife was she actually got angry at me because I made a video about a product that I had been told that I was supposed to test out, giving my honest feedback on it. And I ended up rating the product as a 6 because it was better than what I would consider to be average, right? I would consider average to be 5, and then 0 to be horrible, 10 to be the best thing ever. I can't live without it, right? And I rated it a 6, which I viewed as above average. Like I would like it, I would use it. And she was angry at me for that. And I was trying to explain to her, I didn't know how to explain it, but I was like, I can't rate this higher because if I rate it higher, then what I am suggesting to my audience is this is something that they absolutely must get, right? I was like, and I didn't want it to be that way at all because there was no ulterior motive. I didn't want them to be thinking that I was trying to give them something they didn't need. It's like, I would use it, but it wasn't something that was going to absolutely change everything about their life. And so if I felt if I rated it an 8 or a 9, even if I enjoyed it, it was going to be something where people would get it and they'd be like, well, it's not that crazy. It's not that great.
Yeah.
And so I'm always trying to flip this line of figuring out, okay, am I leading people to make decisions they shouldn't make? And I get asked questions all the time about really, really hard subjects. Like one of the questions I got in my live today was, if you weren't competing in natural competitions, what substances would you take? And here I am sitting there. I'm like, I know what the answer is. I know it straight up. I could tell you every single thing, every single dose, all of it. But I know the minute those words come out of my mouth, there's going to be at least a few people who are like, okay, I'm going to go do that.
Yeah.
And I'm like, and I just don't want that on my conscience if anything goes wrong with those people.
And that's the key also to your longevity, is why you'll be trusted for a long, long time in the space, is because you're not willing to do that. Someone would say, well, Joel said he would do it, so that must mean it's safe. They'll do mental gymnastics to justify their usage of it. And even though there's no direct way to trace that blame to you, just the mere thought that your heart posture on that tells me that that's why you'll be in the space for a long time.
It's scary. Like,
Yeah.
it's honestly terrifying.
Yeah, you do have, sometimes harder to admit and other times than not, like you have the power to change someone's life trajectory, and that's a serious responsibility.
As you say, in a bad way or good way.
Yes.
One of the innocuous things that we could bring up is I recently just showed people an exercise that they hadn't seen in a long time, and they had never seen it before, right? I hadn't seen it in a while, but I was like, oh, like I'm liking this, like I'm showing it. I kid you not, it was hundreds of videos made. Thank you, TNF, for introducing this exercise. This is my new exercise in this program, and all I could think was, okay, imagine if that had been something that could hurt somebody, right? Like obviously an exercise selection, not a big deal. But if it had been on any other topic where it had been like, oh, well, TNF does this, so I'm going to do it. And there's always those wake up calls where I realize, okay, I need to be careful with the way I present this. Otherwise, there could be negative ramifications for these people. And that's part of the reason why, despite working with athletes who are enhanced, despite obviously pushing people to their physical limits, I often will not disclose the details of what I'm doing with those people, because I know that there's contextual things that they won't understand that I am managing in the background. And if they do not have those actual aspects and that experience that I do, they could severely hurt, if not kill themselves.
Yes, 100%. Shout out Uncle Ben. With great power comes great responsibility. Got to wield it well. I have often seen stuff from you as well, where there will just be a ripple effect, where I'll see a video you make, and then suddenly I'll see tens of videos on that exact same topic where people are essentially saying the exact same thing, just in a different way. And I'm like, and I know that it came from you, even though they're not directly saying it. And then I know that that's going to reach into thousands of more lives, and it just continues to go. Yeah, it will. I often see ideas recycled, which is fine. It's flattering and it's cool. I've seen creators get mad. I've gotten heat from creators where I didn't even, but I made a video similar to someone's video and I didn't know it. And the creator came for me like, why didn't you tag me in this? Why didn't you credit me? I think that's sort of a scarcity mentality. I would love for 100 people to directly copy my video, because if it's good information, that means that's 100 different opportunities, to your point, for 10,000 other people to see it.
Right.
And that's what it's about.
And if you were, I maintain this, if you were truly unique in the beginning, even if people are copying you, eventually people will realize where the original source was. Right?
That's very true.
And so for me, because I've seen it happen in my content too, where people are like, hey, he copied you on this. I'm like, okay.
Great.
Like, you recognized that, didn't you? And it's like, if you recognize that, so did some other people. And if somebody else copies it, then it's going to be like, oh, well, this guy came up. And then it'll be people arguing. No, TNF did this.
Yeah.
No. It's like, it's not bad.
No.
It's not a bad thing at all.
Not at all. It's actually a beautiful thing.
Yeah. And so one thing that you actually mentioned before that I kind of want to key in on, you said, and that's why you'll have lots of longevity in this area. What do you think separates the creators who end up lasting in the long run versus the ones who burn out? Or I should say, what are a few things?
Yes. And I'll add to the end of that question, who burn out or just, quote, fall off. People stop watching.
Fall off, yeah.
Because creators become burnt out and stop, or creators stop being watched, which causes them to stop. And to me, the best thing a creator can do, I love this phrase, is give themselves full permission. I was talking to a creator that we know mutually a few months ago, and they were telling me how they feel very stuck in their content because their audience expects them to make this certain style of video because that's what got them their following. And my immediate question in response to that statement was, did they all DM you and tell you that? Did they tell you, don't you dare ever make another video like this because this is why we follow you? No, it's the real life example of we suffer more in our imagination than in reality. I think creators accidentally build themselves a comfortable prison in the thing that once set them free, which at first for me was purely fitness content. That's how I started. That's how I got teed up with Ekko, and Dylan brought me in and I met all you guys. It was really just fitness, building muscle, burning body fat, and the longevity, neuroscience, and health benefits that came from training, and maybe a little bit of mindset stuff around the confidence that comes with being fit. And then it got stale. I wasn't inspired to do it. And randomly and recently, I've felt really inspired to create fitness content again. So I have, which brings me back to my original point. The thing that keeps creators relevant is giving themselves full permission to change if they feel inspired.
You have no idea how refreshing it is to hear somebody else echo those thoughts, because I say that to people every single day when they ask me how to grow their platform. I said, okay, well, what do you do? And they say, well, I'm doing this. I want to be this. And I said, okay, how about you be a creator instead? Be a creator. And if that is what your audience wants to see from you, great. Lean into it, play with it. But if you truly want to be in this sphere, you got to understand, I had no idea that I would be in bodybuilding when I started this at all. I legitimately thought that I was just going to teach people about nutrition.
Yeah.
That's all I thought I was going to be doing. And it was my audience who pushed me in the direction. And if I didn't have the ability to be flexible to go along with that, I might not have had the ability to grow to the same degree. Yeah. I'm not saying you can't force it, maybe a square into a round hole every once in a while, but I see people all the time. I want to do what you do. And I tell them, I said, what do you think I do? And that's when I start to get the sense of, okay, this is how they view me. It's like, but they wouldn't have viewed me that way 2 years ago. They wouldn't have viewed me that way 4 years ago, right? And I always tell people when they say, okay, well, what if social media went away? What if you didn't have the ability to post on TikTok, Instagram, any of that? I'm like, you understand, I'm an entrepreneur. I am an entrepreneur who just so happens to be a content creator and just so happens to be in the bodybuilding sphere. It's like you view me as bodybuilding information, but that is just the end result of what you guys have ultimately pushed me towards over the long run.
Yeah.
And if you don't allow yourself to have a little bit of flexibility and a little bit of leeway to actually go into something that people are trying to get out of you, you will forever be in the prison.
Yeah, in the prison, in the thing that once you felt free within, which for me was fitness, and then it became a bind where, so your practical example is, and this is other thing I want us to do a lot of because I think you're really good at it, is take these concepts, which is give yourself permission, and we give people practical tips for how to do it. And this is a perfect example. Your audience pushed you towards bodybuilding. I was fitness and then started getting questions about how I communicate my thoughts proficiently and thereby involved into communication content to the point where I closed down my fitness coaching business and now I'm a communications and public speaking coach.
Yep.
But people still call me a fitness creator because I post what I feel inspired to do. One of the things when I was in this sort of rift of figuring out why I felt creatively deprived, I work with this performance coach named Kian Lagi, and he's where he first pushed me to give myself permission to create something totally different in content. And I did. For a while, it was pretty much exclusively communication, mindset, and talking about my faith. There was very little fitness content. And through that, I gained a ton of inspiration, created a whole new facet of content. People knew me for other things, which broadened my reach, which grew my page. And then they get to learn from me when I decide to make a fitness video. And an important point of this is when you start to succeed or gain traction in a particular subject or niche, people begin to trust you, like you, and then they want to know you. And so when you branch out and do different styles of content, what I would call top of funnel content, for me, I have fitness and communication and mindset as my core pillars, but then I'll make a video about the Oreo flavored Coke and that goes viral, or randomly reviewing food restaurants while I'm traveling. That allows them to know me and to tap into that more relational pillar of
absolutely.
content. And that also keeps content fun. Like you just said, be a creator. People forget this is supposed to be creative, which is childlike. It's supposed to be an art form. And people are trying to tighten it into this perfect framework for going viral. Fuck a framework.
Yeah.
Fuck a content plan. Create with childlike curiosity and just see how much people love you for it, because that's what everybody wants to do. They want to see people who are being unapologetically themselves, childlike, authentic, and creative, and that's why they love those creators.
Yep. There was a kid who came up to me in the gym 2 days ago. He came up to me and Elijah Mundy. We're doing a workout. He's like, "Oh, I would love to do what you guys do someday." And we start talking, and I start figuring him out. He goes to Stanford. He's running 2 businesses, and he's incredibly fit and looks amazing. And I'm like, and he's saying, "Oh yeah, like I would like to like make content one day." I was like, "What are you talking about?" I'm like, "You are the pinnacle of success at your current age group, and you're thinking you don't necessarily have what it takes at this moment to start creating content on your lifestyle."
Right.
Like, people are going to want to get to know who you are and hear about your day. Well, what would I post? I'm like, my life as a kid at Stanford who runs 2 businesses and is jacked. It's like, what do you mean? What do you post about?
Yes.
You have endless possibilities. And even if you don't feel like you're necessarily that person who's a professional, there's always stuff going on.
Always.
Always. And you just have to be able to understand that it doesn't necessarily have to be about you. It just needs to be interesting.
Yeah, like Gary Vee says, if you hit a slump where you can't be truly creative, Gary Vee has a quote where he says, "Fuck creating, start documenting." And that kid, his life, just document your existence. That's what Sam Sulek did. I'm going to do this whether the camera's on or not. So I might as well just turn it on and you can come along if you like. And it turns out millions of people wanted to come along for the ride.
Absolutely.
Everybody's life is far more interesting than they give it credit for, and they don't feel it's interesting because they're living it. But in reality, the mere fact that it might be a bit mundane, a bit disinteresting, I don't even like calling it that, a bit repetitive or non-unique is actually their superpower, because there's so many other people living lives like that would love to feel related to or connected to somebody documenting it.
Yeah.
It's a paradox.
Yeah. And you talked about the parasocial relationships that ultimately people are looking for, right? Like, I know some people are like, I don't want to have parasocial relationships. And obviously hear creators say that. I'm like, why not?
Yeah, why not? You don't want to connect with humans? It's dope.
Right. it's why you should be creating your content in the long run. Like, I can understand other people not necessarily wanting to develop too many parasocial relationships with creators, because then they might not feel connected to the people around them. But as a creator, that should be your goal.
I think that has to do a lot with, I mentioned your heart posture earlier, but I think another important thing for people to understand who get into creating is creating for self is important. Some of the videos I create are actually reminders to me. They're like a journal. And I make a video based on a topic that I kind of need a reminder about. But I also make it with the intent of serving other people. Like, when we both started, we weren't getting paid for it for a long time. I didn't make any money doing it. And I imagine for a degree of time you didn't either. It was solely to put information out in the world to help people. And for me, it was a place to express my passion. 2 things: express my passion and just help one person. And if you truly want to help others, it's a lot easier to want to build the parasocial relationship. I would just call it true human connection.
Yeah.
But if you're in content for self-serving reasons, I want to go viral, I want to make money, I want to get rich, that is not going to sustain you for very long.
It is unreal the number of people that I talk to who are like, I want to make a living doing social media. How do I do it? I'm like,
You're already cooked, pal.
You're done. You're done. At that point, it's already over, because you haven't actually understood what you're trying to do or why you're trying to do it. You have the end goal rather than the process in mind. And the process is what will, ironically enough, get you to that end goal.
Yes.
And I think a lot of times what will happen is it would be the same thing. They will understand in every other context. They will understand. Well, I want to be a doctor. It's like, okay, well, you understand that there's a multitude of steps that you have to take in order to get there. It's like, you can't just tomorrow be a doctor. You can't just tomorrow be the thing that you're dreaming of being. So what are you going to do in the meantime? You're just going to say, well, I wish I was. Or are you going to start taking action and doing those steps that could possibly lead you there one day?
I want to make a living on social media. Step one would be, I want to help people. Because if you want to make a living, you need something that people can buy from you or purchase from you, or you can influence them to purchase. And people buy from people that they like, trust, and perceive are like them. That's a psychology rule of sales. And sales is really just about connecting with human beings. It's not manipulation. It's understanding that if you truly have a heart of servitude. One of my favorite quotes in the world from Zig Ziglar, he's a really famous sales guy. He said, you can have everything you want out of life if you just help enough people get what they want. And that's how I live my life. The more free content I put out, the better the business does.
It's always that one where I've tried to explain to this to people is you need to be of the mindset that if I give them more for free, they will be more likely to buy. And the gatekeeping doesn't help. It makes it actually much, much worse in terms of because I'll have people say, oh, well, your coaching's so expensive, nobody would pay for that. I'm like, no, they do. They're like, why would they pay for it? All your stuff is free on your platform. I'm like, because all my stuff is free on my platform.
Yes, another paradox.
That is the exact reason. And it doesn't, at first I was terrified of this. I thought if I start telling people everything that I do with my clients, then they're not going to feel any need to ever buy anything from me. And it was the exact opposite.
Yeah, it's the law of reciprocity. I'll state this as a testimonial, and I'll only say it because I know if he were sitting here, he would say it. And it's not to brag, it's to prove to you as a use case for this paradox of giving it all away for free is truly the way. One of my current communication clients told me he was willing to pay me. He wanted the offer, he wanted the coaching, but one of the things he said in the sales call was, honestly, I'd be willing to pay you this just for everything you've put on the internet. And that's a byproduct of free value. It is the law of reciprocity. It's not a suggestion. It is the law of reciprocity. The more you give, the more the world will give you in return. Very simple.
So with all that in mind, we're obviously talking about monetization in general. How do you think it's best for people to monetize without losing credibility? Because obviously once people see that there's money involved, then they start to get a little bit more skeptical.
You get one shot to blow your credibility, and when it's gone forever.
Yeah.
So this has to be done carefully. It comes back a lot. I'm going to say it a lot throughout the course of our conversations today. Your heart posture matters. People can feel your energy, and eventually, if you're disingenuous, it will catch up to you. Eventually, even if not at the beginning. I've seen a lot of creators rise to the top quickly, make a shitload of money, but eventually their heart posture catches up to them. Something happens, and it all comes crumbling down. So I think tactically, we'll start with strategies, the up top thinking, and then the tactics. Strategically, free value as much as you can give it. My friend Nick Comodina, who's a really successful business coach, says give 10, get 1. If you want one of something, you better be prepared to give 10 times that amount in the form of free value. Or Gary Vee says jab, 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 right hook, which is free value, free value, free value, ask. So in my case, it might be 10 or 15 videos that are giving away everything I know. And then the 16th chip punch, right hook, would be, by the way, I have a coaching offer. And I might not even say it.
Yeah.
I want my free content to be so good that you go looking to see if I have an offer. So strategically, free value, do it for the right reasons, do it to serve others. Tactically, I would tell people to wait as long as they can to monetize. You know, someone I think about often who did this really well is Will Tennyson. On YouTube, he hit his subscriber count and his videos weren't monetized with ads for like the first 4 months I was watching him.
Really?
And then when he really popped, now his subscriber count, I'm pretty sure, is public and he has ads. But I remember watching his stuff, like I was watching Will right when he started. And then when he finally hit a certain level where monetization made sense, he did it. And I think I'm 99% sure about the ads part, but I know his subscriber count was hidden. And the only time he would talk about maybe monetization opportunities was a code in his video. But that was early Will, like right when he started creating. For me, I didn't start talking about having a coaching offer until I'd been creating content for 4 months. By that point, I had made 500 videos, probably. And this is especially important because one thing I'm seeing a lot of is creators blowing up quickly. They'll go from 0 to 100K and their content's really good. And they'll reach out to me and go, dude, how do I monetize this? I'm like, yo, it's been a month.
Don't do it.
It's been a month. Just wait. Just wait. So if you monetize too soon, you potentially, not every time, 80-20 rule here, compromise longevity. So I would always turn down I don't know, to put numbers to it, I'd turn down 10 grand a day to make 100 grand next year. If that's what it costs. You got to be playing the long game with this stuff and hold off, because if you start doing codes too soon, doing ads, doing shop, doing coaching, it's going to appear like you're a guy who got in this to be a billboard and make a bag.
It's like the social net. Have you seen the movie The Social Network?
Yeah.
Yeah. When the character who's played by the guy from NSYNC, I can't remember, Justin Timberlake, he says, you want Facebook to be cool. So you don't want to throw the ads on there and get rid of the cool factor. And like, he's shown as this guy who's supposed to be like really conniving, really seedy, and not actually a good leader in the sense. But I was like, that's legit.
That's really good advice.
That's really good. Yeah. And I was, because I'm watching this movie as somebody who does content creation. I'm like, that's absolutely right. But they were making him out to be like the wrong person in that circumstance. He should have been listening to his friend. And I'm like, but he was right.
Yeah. No, it's exactly right. I don't monetize my podcast on YouTube or Spotify, despite it having a lot of listeners. I want to hold out for as long as I can. I do 1 or 2, not even ad reads. I promote brands that I work with, and I told them I'm not reading a script. I'm just going to tell them what I like about it. And it's going to be 15 seconds. And I'll go, all right, enough of that, back to the show. But Spotify has asked me to monetize. YouTube has asked me to monetize. And it's not worth the $500 or $600 a month to piss my audience off. It's just not worth it.
Yeah.
So wait. You want to monetize, just wait.
There was a perfect case study of this. I'm not going to name any names. I don't want to get into that. But there was somebody who was in that process of blowing up, and they were talking to me, hey, like, what do I do? How do I monetize and stuff? I said, don't do it. I said, you are in the process that you do not want to mess up. And they ended up doing it. And they continued to blow up. And I was like, okay, maybe I was wrong here. And sure enough, there was a big blow up. Things went off the rails, and you started to see the heart posture issues. I was like, okay, like there was something there that didn't feel right to me, and I thought maybe I'd just given bad advice in that time. And then the more I looked into it, the more I was like, okay, my gut was right in this instance.
Time reveals all in that case. I think, how would you, so I know a follow-up question someone would have if they're listening to this right now. I'm curious what your opinion is. If we tell people wait to monetize, how then would they know when the right time to monetize is?
So what I always say is this: if you are blowing up, if things are consistently going upwards, don't mess with it. Don't touch it, right? When there's always going to be a point, doesn't matter who you are, doesn't matter how big you are, there's always going to be a point where things start to level off. And when that happens, it's like, okay, your audience is settled in, everybody else is settled in. Now might be a good time to look into, okay, how can I make the most out of what I've gained during this time? So if you see, like, you're at 500,000 followers, but you were at 200,000 followers a week ago, now is not the time. If you're at 800,000 followers in the next month, still not the time, right? That is a very, very rapid rate of growth. And so when you see, if you can graph it out and you see that thing is still just steadily climbing, right? And there's been no hint of a plateau whatsoever. Wait till it's actually plateaued for a good amount of time before you're like, okay. And yeah, obviously you're still growing, but look for those inflection points. And when those inflection points hit and they're pretty significant, that might be a time where you're like, okay, my audience settled in. Maybe now is a time to start looking for a possibility of monetization.
That's great. Now that you're all seated in my audience.
Exactly.
Let's talk.
That is exactly what it is.
That's great. I think the only thing I'd add to that is they will also tell you. I had so many DMs. Do you offer coaching? Do you offer coaching? When is coaching happening?
Oh, I'm not even saying you can't offer coaching during that time or
Right.
anything. I'm talking like you're going for your big brand deals or something like that.
Okay, that's huge.
Right.
Because that's really, brand deals more so than coaching can be potentially compromising to your credibility.
There was a person who was on the way up, and it's not even, and yeah, there's also the aspect of damaging your credibility, but there's simply the aspect of understanding your worth too. And there was one person who was blowing up. I talked to them. They said, oh, well, like, I just got offered a deal by so-and-so. And they were up to about, I think it was 800,000 followers when they told me this. But they'd gotten those 800,000 followers in a very short period of time. They said, I got offered a deal. And I said, don't take it. I said, wait. And they're like, why? I'm like, because you are going to continue to grow, and they're viewing you as 800,000 followers, not what you're actually going to be worth the next little bit. a story gets out about this person, blows their account up even more. They got up to 2 million followers in the course of the next month. They had already taken the deal.
Oh,
I'm like,
could have made 3x.
no, seriously. I was livid because I was like, I knew this was going to happen. I told you it was going to happen, and you took the deal. But again, like we keep coming back to the idea of the heart posture issue, and that was the issue, right? He didn't have the ability to hold himself back and be like, it's not about money in the short term. And all he could see was the dollar sign that was right in front of his face at that very moment. And similar to other things that we've seen, they don't have longevity.
Yeah. I had a similar story. A buddy back in Atlanta who decided he was going to blow up on social media. One of the most impressive use cases I've ever seen of someone being delusionally confident, which I think is important at times to have in yourself, especially in this world. Shout out Jacob, not really wellness. He's a friend of mine from Atlanta. And in November, he had 2,500 followers. And he said, I'm going to be at 100K by the end of the year. And even I was like, brother.
It's a big ass.
He got 60 days. He did it. In 55 days, he had 100K. But he had all these incredible brands. Like, they're offering me this, they're offering me that. And I said, just hold off a little longer, man. Like, you did 100K in 2 months. In 30 more days, you're going to be at 200K. And they're going to try to pay you and ask of you like you're a 100K creator, but you're not. You're a 500K creator. Just wait a little bit. And he did. And he got a substantially more fruitful deal, and it was with a better aligned brand.
Good.
So always wait.
Yeah, I was going to say, you would get of course, you would have the example of the person that actually listened to you. Meanwhile, I have examples of people who didn't listen to me.
I have two people I can think of, Jacob and my friend Kasai. They both took my advice and blew up overnight. Kasai started posting 90 days ago. He's at 70K on IG.
Man.
But it's because they did what we talk about doing. They didn't promote early. They posted consistently and a lot. And they were very, very much themselves in their videos.
Yeah.
And there's people that love them for it, probably hate them for it, but there's dedicated followers as a byproduct. And that's the beauty of authenticity.
Yeah. And speaking of authenticity, how do you keep the authentic nature going within your videos when it seems like there might be something that allows you to, I guess, get more out of your audience? What keeps you on the straight and narrow throughout this entire process?
As in, if I see something that I could focus on to potentially benefit myself more?
Exactly.
It's a good question.
Because there's opportunities. There's always opportunities to compromise on those aspects.
Yes, and there are brands, one of which I can think of right now that reached out recently. I'm not going to say it, but there are brands out there offering big bags to creators to maybe violate their own ethics, even if just a little bit.
Yep.
You know, it's gray area. And
I had a creator reach out to me the other day who had actually done that, and I couldn't help but lose a lot of respect.
Yeah.
In that individual instance, they're like, you should do this. I'm like, that's not good, right? Oh, it's a bit of a gray area. They actually literally use the words gray area to me.
Big red flag.
Yeah.
I think, honestly, man, the thing that prevents me, and I've turned down a lot of money, potential brand deals, and I've been offered opportunities for an absurd amount of money for a little amount of effort. And the thing that keeps me grounded, number one, I have a deep trust that if I hold off, the money will always take care of itself. I'll be able to build wealth in the long term that's much greater than I could ever imagine if I just wait. But really the thing that I think keeps me grounded is Christian values. Like, I love the scripture, for what good is it if a man gains the whole world but forfeits his soul? If I do something that pays me $300,000 for one video, which is an absurd example, but I make 300 grand, but I don't feel good about it, that money will run out, but I'll never forget that I made that decision. And I might have 20,000 people that detest me as a byproduct, or just energetically, I make a decision against my moral code and I pay for that in the long run in some way. So I have a trust this will all work out, even when it feels like there are moments when I might want to monetize something because I'm stressed about money or what have you. Every time I've held off, I've made more and felt better about it. And I would rather make less money and be able to sleep at night. I really believe I'm seeing people gain the world and forfeit their soul. I know people that have done that. I'm seeing it in social media, and I'm just not interested. Tony Robbins says, focus on impact and the economics will always take care of itself. And that's, I'll make videos that get 14,000 views, which relatively for me is not as low performing. But if I make the video and it flops, I trust that I made that video. It was on my heart for a reason and somebody needed to hear it. And I've had clients that become clients and they say, your video about X responding to a comment about people pleasing and programming that got 10,000 views was the video that made me want to book a call with you. Seemingly a flop got me a client.
Yeah.
So I have a deep trust in the content I make, whether it works or not, and the things I turn away if they feel aligned with what I feel like God's calling me to do.
Yeah. No, and I love the point that you made about the fact that you in the moment might not necessarily see it, but somebody else down the line is the one that comes in and gives you that validation and gives you that understanding that that was still worth doing.
Yes.
I've had situations like that before with clients where here I am trying to be big, I know everything, I'm talking about fitness coach and stuff. And I kid you not, I've had conversations with clients where some of the times that they'll say things that just absolutely humble me. One client said to me, hey, the trick that you told me about keeping a pound of strawberries in my fridge so that when I want to binge, I can just binge on strawberries and not go too far off track, changed my entire life.
Such a niche video.
I'm sitting here thinking I have gone through so much more complicated stuff, so much more in-depth stuff. And that was the thing that you came to the realization of, hey, I can control this.
Dude.
And I can handle this.
Yes. For me, it's the Lindt dark chocolate bar. I made like 2 videos that I love the Lindt dark chocolate sea salt bar because the whole bar is 460 calories, kills my sweet tooth, and the video gets 10,000 views. And I still, literally 3 days ago in Austin, someone was like, I love those Lindt bars. And I was like, I haven't talked about that in a year.
Yeah.
Like, well, you never know. You just never know. So it's also a lesson that whatever you feel convicted to create, you need to create.
Yes.
Even if you feel like it doesn't really make sense at the time. It's on your mind for a reason.
Yep. I was having a conversation with somebody about this today where I said, I know what to do in order to go viral. I said, that doesn't mean I'm trying to go viral every single time.
Bingo.
Because I know that there is content that I can make that's going to go to a more dedicated audience that is going to be useful and helpful for those people. Yes, I have the viral videos in the back that I can decide, okay, if I need to get some traction on my platform, this is the topic that I could speak on. But there's a lot of smaller things that people just need to hear, even if it's not the most interesting thing in the world at that very moment.
Yeah. I could be talking about a lot of stuff happening in the world and on the internet right now that would triple my views overnight, and I'm not going to do it.
I talked to my wife before I came here. I said, hey, I want to make a video on this. And she said, don't do it. She said, don't do it. And she said, I don't, you're not going to like the stress that comes from that. It's going to be stressful for me. I'm like, but it would be a good video. She said, don't do it. I often wonder what I would do if I didn't have her in my corner.
Dude, I can't wait for the day that I have a wonderful wife like you do to give me counsel like that.
Dude, when I see people able to figure out things on their own the way that you have, it is mind-blowing to me.
Thank you.
Because I feel like I would truly be lost if I didn't have her. So the fact that you're able to do that it's honestly inspiring.
Thank you. Definitely not alone. I can't take anywhere near all the credit. I spend a lot of time in prayer about it. I have really, really good friends and good counsel, and I have my coach. But one of the best ways that I think men and women complement each other is women have a discernment that we just don't have as dudes. We don't have it. We'll never have it.
It's true.
And it's one of many reasons we complement each other so beautifully. So if you've got a good woman in your life, lock in. Don't screw it up.
All right. Well, we talked about a lot of stuff that obviously already ties into this, but I'm just going to ask this as a final farewell statement. If somebody wanted to win in this space overall, content creation, even just general entrepreneurship, what is the piece of advice that you would give the people in order to get themselves to the level that they need to be?
It's going to sound generic, and it's going to sound basic, but it's the key. Just keep showing up. Most people don't win in the content game in entrepreneurship because they quit. It's the Hormozy quote I love so much is 90% of extraordinary success can be boiled down to doing the obvious thing for an extraordinary period of time.
100%.
I'll never allow myself to lose in this game, because if everybody stops watching, I'll keep posting. If it all went away tomorrow, I'd start over and I'd post again. And I'd do the same thing. Most creators, aspiring creators, stop after the first 90 days. And I think over 90% stop after 6 months. That's why you keep seeing people blow up in a world where everyone says, oh, the market's saturated, the industry's saturated. No, it's not. You're just seeing the people who it's working for, and it's actually a minutia. You know, I looked this up the other day, there's roughly 50,000 creators on TikTok with over 75,000 followers. Only 50,000. There's 100 million accounts. Proportionately, that's nothing. Then you take that to 6 billion people in the world who have access to an internet or smartphone out of the 8 billion in the world. You're actually dealing with a small percentage. And what you're seeing is the people who just don't give up.
Yep.
So on the days you don't feel inspired to create, come back to the basics. Try to teach someone something. Try to make somebody's day better. But most importantly, the one piece of advice, if you cannot do this, you will not win, is just keep posting. Keep showing up. Keep trying to help one person. Post one video, even if it's 10 seconds long, even if it feels like shit, even if you think it's terrible, put it out. That is the differentiator.
I agree. When I first started off trying to get into this sphere, what I was told it's saturated. It's like, that's not a good idea. It's saturated. You won't be able to do it. And the thing that I said at that point, and that I hold to, I said, yes, it's saturated with people who don't have my discipline, and it's saturated with people who don't know what I know. And I came to that every single day. From that day forward, I came in with that mentality, and that was what allowed me to get to where I am today.
And none of them will ever be you doing those things.
100%.
That's it, baby.
Michael,
let's
it's
go.
great to have you.
You too, brother. This is great.
All right, guys. EkkoCast is finished. TNF and
HigherUpWelness.
out.